Hey everybody, it's Saturday afternoon and I'm getting ready to do some work on my waterfall tank here, so I thought I would shoot some video of the work I'm going to do. It's not the usual water change and filter change that I'm going to be doing today, although I am going to be doing those things. I'm not going to worry too much about getting that on video. We will do the before and after, so you'll get to see a huge reduction in all those tannins and all those floating plants you can see right there. They're just kind of thrown in there as a place to keep them alive for the time being. I'm going to be pulling all that stuff out of there. But most importantly, what I'm going to be doing is treating for my old friends, the aphids. I'm not sure where they came from or how they got in here again, but I noticed that some of my temple plant that I've got growing up and out of the water here, and you can even see how this leaf here is sort of deformed and curled. It's entirely possible that there's aphids under here. I don't see any, and I didn't see any on the stem earlier when I looked at it, but I did see some aphids on some of the other temple plant in here, so I cut them out, and I've been looking around and I can see some deformed growth right here on some of this dead nettle. So that kind of looks like, oh no, I'm sorry, that's not even a dead nettle. That's another temple plant, and that definitely looks like it's got aphids on it. So we'll be looking at that. And then this morning I noticed on my tiger lily, that's absolutely unquestionably no doubt aphids on that. And it's interesting because I didn't notice them until after I threw this in the tank, and aphids will travel from one plant to another. So if you've got plants contacting each other, you can have aphids spread. So I'm almost wondering if they haven't bridged their way all the way across. I don't see any aphids on my Rex begonia here, nor do I see any signs of any aphids. But regardless, we're going to be spraying everything because you never know where they are, and aphids spread like crazy and they're really tough to get on top of. They're basically born pregnant, literally. So as soon as aphids hatch out, they're already bound with the next generation and ready to release them within a few days. So aphid populations can explode really quickly if you don't get on top of them. So the way I treat for aphids in this tank is by spraying a little bit of soapy water. I don't use any kind of insecticide soap or any of the oil soaps or whatever. I use basic kitchen detergent. We refer to it as soap typically, but it's not technically soap. Soap has a very specific set of ingredients that includes animal fats and other stuff. I don't even know what's in soap to make soap technically soap. But what I'm using is detergent, and it basically is just a surfactant. And I've got a little tiny bit of it in here that's probably, if I was to have poured it into a measuring spoon, it would have been less than maybe a quarter teaspoon. So 4 or 5 drops, 6 drops maybe in this. I guess that's 16 ounces of water. There's no real measurement to it. The trick is you just got to get enough of the surfactant in there. Again, we'll just call it soap, dishwashing liquid, dishwashing soap, whatever you call it. I think this is Gain. It smells nice. I like the smell of Gain, so that's what we usually use. Again, doesn't have to be specific. What it does is breaks the surface tension in the water, and that allows the water to flow into the little tiny pores that are the equivalent of lungs for an insect. They're not actually lungs, but it's where the oxygen exchange happens and the gas exchange happens, and if they're flooded with water, well, the insect doesn't work anymore. So breaking the surface tension is all you really need to do. So it doesn't take a lot of it, but it also doesn't take a lot of it to kill fish. So for anybody that is concerned about spraying soapy water all around the fish tank, I am going to demonstrate exactly how I do this. The first thing we're going to do, and I found in my experience this is not necessary, but since I'm doing a water change anyway today, the first thing we're going to do is get the water change set up, and as the tank is draining, then I'll go around and start spraying. And by doing that, I'll literally be draining the water out of the tank as it's being contaminated with the soapy overspray. So that will greatly reduce the amount that's in there overall. And then when I fill the tank back up, of course, it'll be with lots and lots of fresh water. But as long as I'm fairly careful, not too much of it gets in the tank, And again, let me just get the camera set up, and then I'll show you how I go ahead and spray the whole thing down with soapy water, and maybe that'll give you a little more confidence to try this yourself. So sit tight, and I'll see you in half a second. Alright, now the first thing I did was move all the plants around the periphery away from the tank. I'm going to go ahead and carry them outside where I can spray them down as thoroughly as I want, and I don't have to worry about it. But a lot of the stuff is planted in the tank, and there's not much I can do about spraying it down where it sits. And mainly it's going to be this daylily in front of us. But the first thing I want to spray is the temple plant that's sticking up out of the tank. So unfortunately there's not much I can do other than spray it right where it is, and accept the fact that some of this is getting in the tank. I don't think the aphids are going to be in here anywhere. But it doesn't hurt to spray it. Now, unfortunately, with the aphids, the soap does not work like a poison that you can lay down and then just have them walk through it later, or something to that effect. It basically has to be sprayed on the aphid to kill it. So you've got to get every square inch of every leaf and every stem and everything sprayed in order to know you've got them fully sprayed and covered. Alright, I think that's probably about good enough. I can see a few spots here where I missed. I'm probably going to have to do this more than once. I generally have to do this every 10 days or so throughout the whole summer. And sooner or later I'll get on top of them, but in the meantime I need to keep doing this. So we have now sprayed just enough. Let me pull you off the tripod here for a minute. Alright, we got enough overspray in the tank where you can see it's making a tiny little bit of not exactly sudsy effect in the water, but it's definitely more bubbly than it would be if I had not been spraying soapy water all around the tank. Now keep in mind how much I actually put in here to start with, and we only used about half of that bottle. So if I put 8 drops, and I don't even think I put that many in, but if I put 8 drops in there, then we basically would have sprayed the equivalent of about, well, I actually didn't even use half the bottle because of the narrow neck versus the wide bottom. I probably only used about a third of that bottle. So we've probably only sprayed the equivalent of, 2 or 3 drops of soap all around this tank. Most of it is on the plants, and a little bit of that got over into the water and is now in the tank. So, the grand total of a drop of soap is now in this water. Again, a drop of soap may be enough to kill the fish in there. I don't know. But we're going to do a great big water change while we're at it, and then we just won't have to worry about it, because in about 15 minutes from now, we're going to have the tank nice and full, fresh and clean, and we will have a look at what it looks like then. So consider that part your before, and there's your after. So I did a really big water change just to be on the safe side. I did get a fair amount of soap in the tank this time. I usually try to do a little more carefully than that, but I knew I was going to be doing that great big water change, and so I didn't worry too much about it. Plus, I really wanted to make sure I got in there and blasted those aphids out of there. So hopefully we will have beaten them back significantly, if not taken care of them entirely. So I also changed out the filter in the hang on the back unit there. I changed the filter pad. I changed the filter in my pump. You can kind of see that bright white down there under the water. That's the fresh filter material that's stuffed into my pump housing. And then I wiped down the glass both on the inside and the outside. I also got in there and did a little bit of gravel vacuuming before the tank was getting so low that it was time to really start filling it back up. I drained it down to about maybe 4 or 5 inches of water left in the tank before I refilled it. So my tiger lilies got put back where they started, but I did do a little rearranging. I know it's kind of hard to tell what's what right here, but the Rex begonia, this was behind my geranium, and this geranium was over on the other side altogether. And so I moved those around. I took a small geranium that I was trying to root in that was sitting right there, and I took that upstairs, and it's now in my kitchen where I'm going to allow it to finish rooting in under a grow light I have up in my kitchen. And what I did was I brought down this Rex begonia and put it where that geranium used to be. And then of course this is still my other geranium and the original Rex begonia, but I did put, you can maybe see that green stake right there, I did put a stake in there to prop that up a little bit, and now it does a much better job at hiding the broken end of the piece of woodwork I've got running up through there. So that's it. We've got lots of flower spikes coming out on the daylilies, and everything else is starting to grow in and fill in and look good. And then of course I got the water all changed and the glass cleaned down and everything is looking good in there as well. Alright everybody, I'm going to say thanks for watching. That's about all there is for this video. Hope you enjoyed that one. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything I got coming up. And don't forget, of course, this is my 40-gallon waterfall tank. So thanks again. I'll see you real soon in the next one.